Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Winter had fallen on the small town. Even in the evening, everything was gray, faded by the fading fall rain. And at night, the wind came, and then snow fell in thick flakes. And in a moment, everything suddenly sparkled silver. The trees were dressed up in lacy, snow-white shawls. Dirty puddles and dead flower beds hid under fluffy drifts. Even fences, house windows, and walls were covered with the veil of snowflakes. Beautiful and not even cold at all. She went to work and admired the picture that opened before her eyes. There was no grayness, gloom, hopelessness. It seemed that the snow had swallowed up all the sorrows of this world. And then there would be only new life. Although what kind of life can be when the cold weather came on, the heart was joyful and sad at the same time. And all around were difficult times of the early 90s. Anna worked at the school as a biology teacher. Her husband James also worked as an educator until recently, teaching math. But when the hardest times came, he decided to leave school and go into business. Anna was skeptical. What earrings? A businessman. First of all, a bargainer, for whom it is not a sin to cheat another. And her husband is not like that. Too decent. Nevertheless, James went into business. He bought out some other speculators and sold them at the market, where he rented a small spot on the rows of jeans, sweaters, sneakers. And he seemed to be doing well, but there was still something troubling in Anna's heart. With the wrong people, James had gone into business. He had borrowed money for the merchandise. What can you do? Times are so strange. Who was behind bars yesterday? Today they are driving foreign cars. Anna looked sadly at the sky, but there were only clouds floating somewhere. Anna sighed and internally shook. Well, why be nervous? Let everything go as it goes. After all, she and James had no other way out anyway. They needed the money, and the school hadn't paid their salaries for 3 months. Just promises. And you can't explain that to your son's daughter. I have children to raise. Anna smiled at the thought of children and then sighed heavily. She had good ones. Liam is 6 years old, Kate is 7. Next year, Kate will go to school. And there are new expenses, but that's not the problem. The problem is that Liam needs surgery, a heart defect. His doctors honestly said that in the past, they would have done it in a heartbeat. But now they have to pay a lot of money for it. And there's no money. That's probably the main reason. Why James, a talented young teacher, quit his job at school, needed to earn money for his son's surgery. Anna reached the school, tried to smile, and mentally shook all the worries. No one should see her sadness. Everything will be fine. It will definitely be. In the teacher's lounge, and colleagues were discussing something heatedly. Anna said hello, took off her unpretentious coat, tidied her hair at the mirror. I listened to the conversations of the teachers. This is the same Mishka. Ah, Wendy, the oldest teacher who taught literature at school. A gangster, that's all he was. I remember he was in 7th grade when he broke my classroom window. And it wasn't an accident on purpose because I gave him an F for a cheated essay. He got the idea, copying the preface in the textbook. I didn't think I'd understand. And later he burned the magazine in the bathroom. Wendy grudgingly interrupted her colleagues' reminiscences. Principal Jenna, what happened? It was time to let it go. Now Michael, a respected man, he's a businessman. He's from Boston himself. I think this respectable man has been in jail a few times. Nick, the gym teacher, had a little spiel. For robbery, among other things. So, Jenna got worried. It doesn't concern us at all. Anyone can make a mistake, especially now Michael is running for high office. And he remembered about his native school and is ready to help us free of charge. But sighed Wendy and didn't raise her voice. Jenna, we have a meeting with Michael tomorrow. We should get ready. Anna, you're on your 8th B. I'm the cool one. Anna was confused. That's great. They're the most artistic kids in the school. For today, prepare a small event on the occasion of the arrival of a dear guest. That's all great, shrugged Anna. But I cannot understand until the end who we will honor Michael. A former student of ours, he has offered his financial help in renovating the gym. We're going to honor him tomorrow. Your boys will recite a couple of poems about the wonderful high school years. They'll sing a song or two. And then I'll settle all the issues with Michael face to face. The principal quickly instructed Anna. She only nodded in response that she didn't know Michael. She has not been working at the school that long, and what's in the past is none of her business. Times are like that now. That day, Anna was at school until late afternoon. First lessons, then rehearsals with the kids for an unexpected event. Afterwards, there was also an unscheduled teachers' meeting, a kind of briefing before the meeting of the dear guest. Everyone left at dusk. He was a bandit and still is. Mark my word, whispered Wendy Anna when they were already out on the porch. And now you can't tell who's a bandit and who's a hero. Anna smiled sadly. It was good that this day James had an early release and could pick up the children from the daycare center. But still Anna was in a hurry to get home. She still had to make dinner. But in the hallway she was greeted by the aroma of something delicious. "Hello, wife." Peeking out of the kitchen. "James, let's wash your hands at the table. I'm gonna fry some pork." "Oh, where'd you get it?" Anna was surprised. "We're out of pork at the grocery store." "Bartering." James explained with a laugh. "I have a man from the village at the market, was buying jeans for his son, and then he offered to pay for it with meat. He was coming from the market too. He didn't have much left, so I said yes. Why not? Can we treat ourselves once in a while?" "Yes, of course," sighed Anna. "But we need the money more. You remember about the operation and heavy meat for him." "Anna, well, relax." James hugged her and kissed her cheek. "I promise I'll save up for my son's surgery by spring. A piece of meat won't do him any good. It's a good thing if he eats at all. You know what kind of food he eats?" Anna nodded in response. Of course she did. Liam had a bad appetite and ate badly in the kindergarten. If it was good for him, he shouldn't go to kindergarten at all. But there's no one to leave him with. Thankfully, the head of the kindergarten made an exception and took Liam into the group. While Anna and James were chatting in the hallway, the children were already sitting obediently at the kitchen table. They too seemed to be delighted by the flavors of the upcoming dinner. And indeed, everyone ate dinner with great pleasure. And then they were getting ready for bed. Anna heard her Liam humming a song. It was learned at the kindergarten. Anna asked with a smile. "And for Christmas, the skit will be about pulling on pajamas," Kate answered. And pulled again. "I'm ready to throw myself into the ocean. I'm ready to climb a volcano without fear. I'm not afraid of any beast, but I'm afraid to be a sister. And it's time to say so openly. What's a little brother? It's worse than a shell. Funny song." Anna smiled again. "But not about you and Liam." "Liam is gold," confirmed Kate. "And the songs are fun. Aha!" Liam hooted from under the blanket. "Sing it again." And Kate sang, and Liam repeated after her. Anna put the children. "Let them fool around a bit. That's what it takes." Soon they were quiet, asleep. Anna and James were in the kitchen calculating how much they had left to save for Liam's surgery. It should be done by spring. The next morning, the family scattered to their places. The children went to the garden and the adults to work. After the 5th lesson in the school, everyone was preparing to meet the patron of the arts, Michael, who threatened to renovate the gymnasium. The principal was the most worried. That's why all the old-timers gave the same assignments several times. The teaching staff was divided. Some were also excited about the upcoming visit of a distinguished guest, and others were very calm, even indifferent. But the children were genuinely excited about the upcoming event, especially the senior pupils who were taken out of the 6th lesson. Soon a dark jeep drove up to the school, and a huge man of about 35 years old swam out of it. It was the same Michael, formerly a bear, hooligans, thugs, as Wendy put it, and she was not far from the truth. Even with a cursory glance at this hero, it was clear that this fellow is obviously familiar with crime. Michael was warmly welcomed on the porch of the school Jenna. Then there was an event. Anna's boys performed well. Afterwards, the principal introduced the teachers to the dear guest. Someone Michael recognized, for example, also Wendy. They said hello to her rather dryly. But Michael gave Anna a predatory look. "What charming teachers are there in our school now?" He smiled broadly to the young woman. Anna could not find anything to say. just nodded. And then Jenna took Michael into her office for a confidential conversation about the gym renovation. She went to her classroom and sat down, checking her notebooks while time allowed. In just a couple of hours, she would be able to pick up her son and daughter for daycare. Suddenly, Aunt Valia came into the classroom and said that she had an urgent phone call from the kindergarten, she explained. Anna, throwing everything aside, ran to the teacher's room. What she heard in the phone was horrifying. In the afternoon, Liam had become ill and was choking. He was now taken by ambulance to the city hospital. In excitement, the young woman ran out of the school to button her coat at the gate. She literally ran into Michael, who was smoking, looking thoughtfully at the school, apparently remembering the past. Oh, sorry, Anna blushed and tried to go around the man. And where are we in such a hurry? He smiled at his son. He was taken to the hospital, Anna admitted, almost crying. Wow, Michael exclaimed. How much he is 6 years old, Anna said. So let me drive you, Michael suggested. Anna was a little confused and finally agreed. It was unknown how long to wait for the only bus that ran in their neighborhood in the car. Without realizing it, she told the guest from Boston the story of her son, how 2 years ago she was diagnosed with the surgery. Now everything is decided by money. Shook his head Michael. I'm sorry about your boy, but somehow I'm sure that everything will work out. I hope so too. I just wish it'd go away now. Don't think bad thoughts. Michael tried to comfort her, and for some reason he didn't seem like a bandit at that moment. Well, a normal man. What got his past? It doesn't matter. At the hospital, Michael asked for Anna's home phone number. She wouldn't even. Asked why. She felt like she was doing the right thing. She felt that the guests were asking for a reason. Maybe he wanted to help her. That's what the amount of money needed for the operation is to him. From the emergency room, Anna was invited to the hospital. Put on a robe. She rushed up the stairs. On the landing stood a familiar doctor. He had seen Liam earlier. Arthur, what's wrong with Liam? Anna rushed over to him. Did you examine him? I did, and my colleague sighed doctor. The choking attack has been relieved. The boy is sleeping now. But this is a serious matter. We need to operate as soon as possible. But why? What caused it? Was it the pork? Anna gasped. Liam had a big meal last night. I don't think it's that. The doctor shook his head. It's just that the boy is growing and his heart can't cope with the strain. The operation should be done within a month. Look for the money and we'll make a request to Boston for surgery for you there. The doctor left for the hospital. Anna slid down the wall by the stairs. Where would she find the missing money? After all, it's only November, and she and her husband planned to save by April and May. In the evening, she and her husband puzzled over where to find the money. Maybe they could ask our school patron. Suddenly, Anna remembered and told them about Michael. I don't think that would be a good idea, James hesitated. People like that don't just do anything. So you'll do it then. Anna shouted. You're a man. James even swayed at those words. How's that? He's a man, and so he does everything he can, forgetting about pride, about higher education, hanging around in the market among traders. But money doesn't fall from the sky, no matter what. I'm sorry. Anna came to her senses and clung to her husband. We'll manage. We'll think of something. James was silent, only held his wife tighter to him. After putting the father to bed, Anna could not hold back her tears as she thought about her son. Her soul shrank with pain. How he is there now, her little one. Her daughter, seeing her mother's condition, was frightened and silent. She too had learned that her brother was in trouble, and when Anna kissed her, she was about to go out. Quietly whispered her mother, Liam is going to die. What are you, sweetie? Rushing to her and barely holding back her tears, she whispered hotly, No, we'll cure him. His heart hurts more. Naively asked her daughter, My heart won't help him. Anna bit his lip painfully, so as not to burst into tears. What are you saying? It's your heart. How will you be without it? How will I be without my brother? My darling, don't worry. Liam will be cured. He'll come back to us. She whispered many words. Anna, comforting her daughter, Anna went out on wobbly legs. "If Michael calls, I will directly ask him for help," she told her husband firmly. James only closed his eyes, then nodded in agreement. Maybe this Michael really wasn't a bad person. The next day at school passed like a blur for Anna. Colleagues, everyone was discussing the guest's visit and his promise. She was thinking about her own things and waited for Michael to drop by the principal's office. That's when she'd approach him. But he never came. Other things, I guess. And in the evening, only Anna came home. The phone rang in the hallway. The woman rushed to the phone. It was Michael. "Anna, hello. I'm calling to see how your son is doing." Michael was the first to ask, and Anna was the first to tell her everything. "Michael, can you lend me and my husband the missing amount?" Anna finally dared to ask. "We will give you everything by spring. You, your husband, will not." After thinking, Michael answered, "But for you personally?" "Yes." "I don't understand. What's the difference?" Anna mumbled, "Yes, it's a small thing. It's just that you'll owe me personally." "Okay, I agree." Without thinking about the meaning of what was said, replied Anna, "Only the money is urgently needed." "Where do you want to ride?" Michael asked businesslike, and Anna gave her address. Soon a familiar Jeep stopped near the house. Anna, worried, was already standing at the entrance. "Shall we go into the apartment?" she asked. "No, let's go in the car." Michael opened the doors, inviting Anna in. And already in the cabin, he handed over an envelope. Looking into it, the woman was more embarrassed than she should have been. "We have some of the money." "Take all of it. You will definitely need it in Boston." "You'll have to live there too," Michael replied. "Thank you." "We appreciate it," Anna nodded. "In response, you do not doubt. We will give everything." "I have no doubts. It's been an unpleasant experience." "Michael, I return everything to me." For some reason, this phrase gave Anna goosebumps on her back, but she tried not to pay attention to it. Yes, Michael, strange man. But the main thing is that he helped, and further time will show what to do. The main thing was that now Liam could be saved. She thanked him once again and got out of the car. At that time, James was just parking their old Six in the driveway. Anna was waiting for her husband. The Jeep was also in no hurry to leave, as if the woman was being watched. Finally, James turned off the engine and got out of the car. He kissed his wife, and they went into the driveway. And in the back, it was as if they were being glared at. "Who was that?" James asked on the way out. He saw his wife get out of the Jeep. "Seriously, it was Michael," Anna said happily. "He gave us money for the operation and enough money for medicine and living." "In Boston, while Liam is in the hospital." James did not answer anything, only sighed. Yes, that money was his son's salvation. He hadn't been able to find the full amount today, even went to the local gangsters. They wouldn't give it to him, arguing that the last debt hadn't been repaid. James drove home with a heavy heart. And then his wife brought him this news. "I should be happy, but I was anxious." And then the anxiety went away. Liam was being prepared for transportation to Boston. Anna and James kept running to the hospital to see their son. And finally, everything was ready. Having taken a leave of absence without pay in the middle of the school year, not paying attention to the principal's displeasure, Anna with her son went to Boston for treatment and James's aunt. We stayed behind to wait for them. In Boston, despite the troubled times, there was one clinic that undertook to operate on Liam. The boy was admitted to the hospital. Anna rented a room close to the hospital. It was only then that she realized Michael had been right to give her more money than she'd asked for. During the time in Boston, they spent almost all of it on medicines, on rent for her son, on simple groceries. Anna had been with Liam for almost 3 months for treatment. James wanted to visit them several times, but Kate would be left on whom. They decided to endure the separation, because everything is going well. The family is sure to be reunited soon. Anna and Liam returned to their hometown only at the end of February. Now the baby was perfectly healthy. Kate missed her brother and mom and literally stayed with them. "You're the best little brother I have," said the girl, hugging her brother. "I love you and I love you." And also Mom and Dad confessed the boy. "Kate, sing a song about your brother." "It's bad," Kate said. Why doesn't the girl love her brother? No, she doesn't. She loves him, sing it. All right, and Kate was dragging on. I'm ready to throw myself into the ocean. I'm ready to climb a volcano without fear. And Dinka would pick up the chorus. They sang, they laughed, they hugged. Anna and James, at such moments, silently admired their children. How great it was that all the ordeals were in the past. And no one even realized that all the trials in their lives were just beginning. Anna had to finally quit his job until he finally recovered. After the operation was contraindicated any kind of exercise, James convinced his wife that he could cope with all the financial difficulties himself. His trade was slowly but surely turning around. He had already bought a small container and traded there. A couple of times he even traveled to Europe on his own to get the goods. Anna, there will come a time when we will not know the need for anything, he said, smiling. Anna Kivalova in response, but one thought troubled her. The debt to Michael they had not yet paid. But James reassured the part he had already put aside a little. Until the summer they should pay it off. Especially since Michael hadn't shown himself. He left for Boston at the end of the school year was to appear in the town. That's when the renovation of the gym was scheduled. Anna learned about it from former colleagues. Convinced the Capital businessmen and their principal. And by this time, Anna and James planned to collect the entire amount that Michael gave for Liam's treatment. Anna relaxed a little at home and suddenly realized that it's wonderful to be a housewife. No, you have a lot of worries, but you don't have to run anywhere. You don't have to hurry, and the children are close by. James is good. He does everything to make sure that their family has nothing they need. Despite the hard times, they had food and clothes. They managed to get by. But Anna did not think of sitting on her husband's neck. In the new school year, she planned to go to school again. At least, that was the agreement with the principal. And then spring came summer after her. One day, Anna received a call from the school and was asked to come. The woman decided that the conversation would be about her reinstatement, and therefore, taking the documents and leaving her son to a neighbor, she hurried to the school. At the school gate, Anna saw a familiar Jeep. For some reason, her heart gave an alarming twinge, but the woman tried not to pay attention to premonitions. Boldly stepped to the car. The rear doors opened and Michael looked out of it. Good afternoon, Anna. I've been waiting for you. Michael smiled with gold teeth. Get in the car. We're talking. Hello, Michael. Anna nodded. Unless they're waiting for me at school for a while. I'm the one who asked the principal to call him. You did. Anna was surprised, and then she realized, you don't think so. I haven't forgotten about the debt. My husband and I have almost already collected everything. Michael grinned. Sit down already. Anna timidly climbed into the cabin. Michael sat in the back seat, relaxed, looking at Anna. The driver was also looking at her in the mirror. The woman shuddered with foreboding. Michael, thank you very much. Started on the first conversation. If it hadn't been for you, I don't know how it would have ended. How's your son? Michael asked. He's fine. He's perfectly healthy now. He's happy. Yes, he is. I sold it in a hurry. Anna, explaining we've already saved almost the whole amount. There's not much left. Let me give you what I have now, the rest in 2 months. Okay, nodded Michael. Are you aware that the amount has gone up? I mean, it's gone up. Anna was confused. No offense taken. But I'm a businessman first and foremost. The money has to work. So now the amount has doubled. That's with interest. But you didn't say anything then, Anna whispered in horror. We certainly don't have that kind of money. And when will we ever get it together? But don't you think we will? I'll go out to work for Seriosa to bribe. James, your sweat is saving up, Michael chuckled. Wrong man, you chose baby with me, make a deal. I mean negotiate, she blushed. Anna, you've got it all figured out. Debt is sacred. You'll pay it back. Besides, I've got a lot of patronage to invest in here. They're gonna start renovating the gym any day now. So interest, do you work? How? Barely audible, asked Anna. God, you are completely stupid. Michael laughed, then almost grunting again with anticipation, said you work with your calf. If I like it, I'll forgive the rest of the debt. Give me a call. He handed her a business card. How could you? Anna exclaimed and jumped out of the car. It's never going to happen. We'll give you everything. But since you're so brave." Michael looked out of the car and looked predatorily at the woman. "Then keep in mind, I'll wait 2 days. Then you have to pay back everything, both the debt and the interest. And if you don't, you'll regret it." He slammed the car door. The engine roared and the car sped away. Anna was left standing on the sidewalk, confused, and the woman looked at the business card, wanted to throw it away, but for some reason she put it in her purse. Jenna appeared from the school gate. She saw her former colleague and approached. "You're here already?" she asked excitedly. "And Michael? Did he ask you to arrange a meeting?" "Oh, Anna, you've embarrassed the capital's businessman. I think he's lost his head over you." "Lost what?" echoed Anna. Thinking about his head, laughed Jenna. "You dear, you're not losing it here. I understand the teacher is a model for behavior and all that. But times are different now. You have to realize that. And when a respectable man shows signs of attention, you should not reject them." "Jenna, will you take me back to work, ignoring the principal words?" Anna asked. "I will," she nodded. "Here's the thing. Michael has asked me to hold your employment for a while." "Michael?" Anna grinned crookedly. "Who the hell is he? Why are you listening to some thug?" "He's not a bandit," the principal replied with a toss of her head. "He is a businessman and our sponsor. You don't throw people like that away. Anyway, settle all your issues with Michael and then come to work." Having said that, Jenna moved on. Anna was still standing at the school gate, disgusted and confused. In the evening, she told her husband about everything. James listened and became increasingly morose and was silent. Anna was also silent. "That's it then," James said at last. "Don't talk to him anymore. Now I will solve this problem." "James, how are you going to get so much money?" "I was thinking that maybe we'll sell the apartment, but where will we live? Especially since my grandmother left it to me. It's old and they won't give us much for it." "Not enough for the debt," James replied, thinking about something else. "I have one option. Tomorrow I'll try to solve it. You'll go to the bandits again. Not to gangsters, but to your creditors. Kevin's a good man. He'll understand. I think he'll help." Anna just lowered her head. God, what kind of debts were they going to get into? It was as if a chasm had opened up in front of them and was dragging them down. The next day, James went to the local oligarch Kevin. Yeah, James already owed him. He hoped Kevin would understand him. But he listened, hesitated, and shook his head. It wasn't personal. "James," Kevin said, "but you owe me that much too. I'll pay you back." "Yeah, I know you will. You're an honest man, you do good work. But that's not the point. They came to see me and told me not to give you another penny. Otherwise, they won't let the Red Rooster in. These are very serious people, and I'm not messing with them. They're Michael's people," James guessed. Kevin didn't say anything, only nodded in response. James left with nothing. Was there a storm raging in the man's soul? No, he understood that debts had to be repaid. Yes, he agreed there was payment to be made. But can one be so pressured? James understood the real reason for Michael's behavior. He wanted his wife as another toy. And just thinking about it, the man was filled with rage. He would not allow to offend his woman. He would twist, but he would find a way out. Maybe have a man-to-man talk with this very Michael. James decided that was the most appropriate thing to do. Otherwise, he'd already loaded all his problems onto her. It's not right. Having learned from reliable sources that Michael lives in a rented mansion on the outskirts of the city, James went there, explaining to the guard at the gate who he wanted to see. James began to wait patiently. There were many phrases in his head that he wanted to throw in the face of this greedy bourgeois. But the man realized that it was necessary to be more careful. It was necessary to agree. So he would not swear. The wicket gate opened and the guard looked out. "Come in short," he said. And James obediently headed after him, entwined on a chair. Outside the house sat a huge hod of a man about the same age as James. James, though he had seen him only once at the entrance, recognized him at once. Yes, it was Michael. "He's not a nice guy, James, but we have to make a deal. He's here to ask for his wife," Michael asked with a chuckle. "That's beer from a tiny coffee cup. I've come to settle a debt." James answered him, "That I'm yours to decide, not all said nothing complicated. Trust me, she'll even like it." James, after these words, flared up, clenched his fists, and barely restrained himself from throwing himself at Michael. "That's disgusting," he said quietly. "For you, that amount of money isn't that significant." "You, not counting my money," Michael grinned again. "What a bunch of people. They can't do anything for themselves. They're always looking into other people's wallets. I'll give you the money, just give me time, and don't touch your wife," James said, trying to sound calm. "I haven't touched her yet." He laughed out loud. "Michael, I'd like to try though. She's a hot little thing, she's not tight. Share it with her, it'll be good for her. It'll be good for all of us." When James heard that, he shook like a blow. He couldn't control himself anymore. "You scum," he shouted and threw his fists at Michael. But immediately 2 of Michael's guards came up, plus a third who was at the gate. They twisted James up and began to beat him methodically. They beat him brutally with all their might. Michael watched and drank his coffee. "All right, that's enough," he said. "At some point he'll die, you drive him away and throw him away. Or James, alive, is thrown into the trunk of that very Jeep and driven away from the estate, dumped in some park, left like that." James was found. Random passers-by called an ambulance. The man was taken to hospital. Good thing they found a driver's license in his pocket. That's how the police got an ID, then Anna was called. She was a mess that night. James should have been home by now, but he wasn't. The daughter and son had a quiet dinner and went home, realizing it was better not to disturb her mother now. They sat in the room. Drawing Anna stood by the window and waited. The phone call came unexpectedly, even in her head was noisy. Anna rushed to the machine. What she heard blew her mind. James is in the hospital in serious condition. The woman sat on the floor and couldn't pull herself together. "I have to go to the hospital, find out everything, but my legs won't listen." "Mommy, you're sick." Kate came out of the nursery. "Can I give you a pill? Or some water?" Liam peeked out from behind her shoulder. "Yes, water, son, bring it." Anna barely spoke. Sonny ran to the kitchen and then chugged from the glass. Anna was slowly coming to her senses, but what's she so hyped about? The main thing is that James is alive. Anna stood up, hugged the children. "My darlings, can you be alone?" she asked. Of course, Kate nodded. "We're big now, that's good. I'll go quickly. You go to bed." Mom called out to her already on the threshold of Liam. "Where's Dad?" He got held up. "Are you going to bed?" Anna answered. Telling the children about the trouble was wrong. They're little ones, at the hospital. Anna was waiting for another blow. Yes, James is alive, but the condition is not that severe, critical. Surgery was done, but it did little to help. Anna listened to the doctor and realized that she was losing James. "Can I see him?" she begged. "You can't do that at all," sighed the doctor. "He's in intensive care." Then looked at the pale as chalk woman sighed. "All right, let's go." James was lying all bandaged up in some tubes of wires. Anna's heart clenched with pain. "My darling, darling," she whispered. She knelt down beside the bed. "You just hold on, I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll get through this." She was crying, praying to God for a miracle. My heart was torn to pieces. If she could help in any way, but then the doctor touched her shoulder. "Say, it's time." Staggering, she left the intensive care unit, went downstairs emergency room. How long had she been like that? She didn't remember. Only suddenly she saw the very doctor from the intensive care unit, which she said with fear. "I'm sorry," the doctor replied quietly. "Is your husband dead?" She screamed loudly and fearfully. The nurse rushed for sedatives, hugged her shoulders, whispered something to calm her down. But how could one calm down when the world had collapsed? Anna returned home in the morning. The same doctor drove her home. "You hang in there," he said goodbye. "You have children. You need to be doubly strong now." "Double," Anna repeated. The word echoed inside, as if in a void. The kids were asleep, cuddled together on the same bed. She froze in the doorway, looking at her babies. How could she tell them that Daddy was gone? It was scary. She went into the kitchen and sat down tiredly on a stool. She couldn't believe that James would no longer enter their apartment, smile, hug, or plop down his deliciously large tea that only he knew how to make. But what had happened? Anna is lost in guessing who did this to her husband. The police promised to look into it and find the culprits. Oh, will they find them? Times are troubled. Anna has forgotten her past troubles. Grief overwhelmed her. In the morning, she found the strength to tell the children that Daddy was now in heaven. Kate and Liam cried. Anna was crying too. There was the unknown ahead. Then there was a funeral and a wake. Good thing the neighbors helped. Past coworkers had buried James. We had to move on. But how? Anna began to recover a little, and now she was tormented by one question: when they would find those responsible for James's death. One day in early August, she went to the police to find out. The investigators spoke at length about the crime spike and the difficulty of their work. Anna waited patiently for an answer to her question. Well, I don't know. What can I tell you? Finally, the investigator confessed. Witnesses to the crime were never found. They didn't find his car either. It was probably a carjacking. But a car isn't a needle, Anna said. I think it was dismantled for parts long ago, replied the investigator. Don't worry, we're looking. If anything is known, we will let you know. She realized that she would not get anything here. She left the department, sat on a bench, and cried. How could she go on living? It was only now that she remembered James' place in the market, his merchandise. She had to do something about it. Anna went to the flea market. To her surprise, James's container was doing a brisk trade. Only Anna didn't know the seller. And on all her questions, he only shrugged his shoulders and waved the woman away as from an annoying fly. Anna remembered about her husband who knew her and worked nearby. Seeing Anna, he lowered his eyes. They said all questions to the owner of the market, and it was the same Kevin. Anna soon found him in one of the market's administrative buildings. What did you want? Kevin was surprised. So much owed that all his goods are just a drop in the ocean. Yes, I took it for myself, but that doesn't cover the debts. It's very good that you came yourself. Let's decide. Decide what? Anna asked quietly. What about the principal debt? Who's going to pay it back? No one but you, Anna whispered. Kevin named the amount. The woman's eyes darkened when she heard it. Doomed, she replied. You have an apartment, sell it, and we'll be even. And I'll be out on the street with the kids. I'm sorry, but that's not my problem, Kevin replied. I give you a month to solve all the problems afterwards. And then don't be sorry, I have things to do. And Kevin pointed Anna to the door. She walked out of the market, swaying. Passers-by looked at her judgmentally, saying she was drunk in broad daylight. And she didn't want to live. And only thoughts of her children kept her from doing the worst. She walked along the sidewalk, not noticing anyone. She didn't notice the Jeep right away. And even when it pulled up next to her, she didn't pay any attention to it. Anna called out to her, Michael, why are you like that? When did you hear my condolences? Anna looked at this well-fed, contented man and realized with horror. Now he's going to claim his debts. Owed everything. I wanted to lie down and die. Let's go under the visa. Michael offered and held out his hand. Anna reached out her hand in return. They drove home in silence. Michael only glanced at her occasionally. He was thinking about something. Before they reached home, she saw her children. Democracy. Waiting for their mother, they were playing on the playground. A smile lightly touched her lips. Her children were her only outlet and her strength. Nice kid you have, Michael remarked. The little girl is so sweet. Anna said nothing and wanted to get out of the car. How did Michael stop her? We need to talk, he said. I don't have anything, she replied doomedly, and I'm not coming to you. What do you want to do to me? Long married to me now, grinned Michael. Have you seen yourself in the mirror lately? Fuck you, tiredly replied Anna, again reaching out the handle, door, and bold. Angrily flashed his eyes Michael. But maybe yours also wanted to be bold. Yes, his arms were short. Hearing this phrase, Anna was suddenly pierced by the thought that it was Michael who was to blame for James's death. It's three of his, whispered. She was horrified, looking at Michael. For what hands would I still Merle glared, Michael. Well, my boys overdid it a little. It's your husband's own fault. Why did he come to me to defend your honor? You knight in shining armor. You're just gonna tell me you're responsible for James' death? I'm going to the police. Then go to the police. Who's gonna believe you? And don't get hysterical. Why am I even having this conversation? Anna looked at this monster and could not find the right words. Her whole body was in a state of terror. Do you have a good girl? Michael said, looking at the children playing. Don't touch my kids, don't touch my kids. Ew, how rude, Michael grinned. No one is going to nail anyone. I told you about my husband so that you realize that jokes with me are not good. Anyway, here's the deal. I'll forgive your debts. I'll forgive your husband's disrespectful behavior. But there's one condition. What do you want? Anna whispered in pain. Will you give me your daughter? As if struck by thunder. Anna looked at Michael wildly. His offer was out of the question. It was only 7 years before she finally managed to say, Don't you dare touch my daughter. What are you thinking? Stupid. Michael grinned again. This is different. You see, I have a beautiful, well-groomed wife in Boston, but she can't give birth to me. We wanted to adopt a baby at first, but it's so much trouble. But recently we've been thinking that maybe we should adopt an older child from an orphanage. They're all lame children of alcoholics. But your girl's a good fit for us. What are you talking about? A little recovered from the shock, sarcastically, replied Anna. Is it a doll for you, or what, in the store? It's a living person, it's my baby. It was yours, it's mine. Think about it. What are you gonna give a girl for school? You're not gonna get any in this town. I've taken care of that, I know. Married people are in demand for you. You'll starve yourself to death, and you'll take the kids with you. At first I thought I'd take the boy for nothing, didn't I? I've invested so much money in him, but my wife talked me out of it. She said, Why do we need a defective one? Really, who knows? What if something else happens to his health? You have a good girl, I see, she'll be a beauty. You will never get my daughter, she shouted and jumped out of the car. But you're a fool. I was trying to make a good deal. The Jeep sped off and sped away. Anna rushed to the playground, grabbed her children, came to her and cried, Mommy, what are you doing? Kate was surprised. Don't cry, you're upset that we went to the playground alone. But I'm a big girl now. I'm going to school soon. I can look after Liam. My assistant Anna's sobbing, Don't mind me. I just have a headache. Let's go home, Mommy. Liam called out, We'll make you some tea. Come along, my dears. Thinking after putting the children to bed. Anna was determined to go to the police. Michael had practically confessed. We had to punish that thug. We had to show his true colors. Justice demanded it. Okay, with Kevin she'd solve everything. But with Michael, justice was the only thing she could hope for. And only then could Anna count on a job and a quiet life. I mean, you have to think about the kids. Kate's got school in 3 weeks and no money for tights. She'll prove to everyone that Michael's a criminal. And the principal will realize how wrong she was, reinstate Anna. But that's not even the point. What matters now is punishing her husband. She was already at the station this morning. The investigator, who was in charge of her husband's case, listened to her carefully and then asked him to wait a little. He left the office. He came back with Michael. And now, Anna, repeat everything you just told me, said the investigator. Let the honorable man hear for himself what heresy was invented about him here. Honored man, cried Anna, yes, you are out of your mind. This is a criminal. She's insane, smiled Michael condescendingly. She must have told you about her daughter. She said I wanted to take her away. Yesterday she saw me in the street in my car and almost ran under my wheels. I had to put her down. So she started selling her girl to me. Selling your kid, the investigator frowned. I'm telling you, she's crazy. But you don't judge her harshly. She must have gone crazy with grief, Michael told him. Anna only tried to say something in her defense, but no one listened to her. Michael and the investigator were already discussing what to do. Should they call an ambulance or start a case? Anna realized she had to run. She rushed out of the office. The investigator shouted something after her. Michael stopped him, saying what to take from a poor woman. How did Anna end up on the street? She didn't remember. She jumped on a bus and went home. In the apartment, hugging her son and daughter, she lay in silence. There were no tears. Her body was trembling. What had happened to this world? Black has become white, black, and there was no truth to be found anywhere. By evening, she calmed down a little and suggested that the children take a walk in the park. The kids happily agreed. Kate and we walked ahead, amicably humming the very same song. A little brother walked by. Anna walked a little behind the women and smiled involuntarily, listening to her children. Thank God her babies calmed down so quickly after James died. No, sometimes at night she hears the sobs of the father and the mooing of Liam. But still, the painful memories are less and less frequent. A child's psyche is flexible, quickly forgets everything bad, and she has to learn to forget and think how to live on. She walked along the path, admired the flower beds, looked at her children, and remembered the city. She got here by distribution, and actually she was born in the region in a small village. Her parents died in an accident when she was in her 3rd year. How bad was it for her? And if it hadn't been for James, whom she was already dating, she would have had a hard time. Whether she would have graduated, she doesn't know. And James was there for her. In the 5th year they signed, and then together they returned to his hometown, where there was an apartment from the late grandmother James. They wanted to get a job in the first school, where James studied, but there were no vacancies, so they went to the second. Then the babies were born one after another. Yeah, there was family, there was happiness. And suddenly it all fell apart like a house of cards. First, Liam's illness. Before James died. Anna sighed heavily, but she had to be strong, for the sake of the children. But what about the rest of her life? Where to find work? Michael kept his promise. They won't take her anywhere in her specialty. Anna thought of going back to her village. There's still a 9-year-old school there. Maybe there's a place for her too. And her parents' house is still intact. It was worthless, but it could be lived in if it was renovated a little. Anna walked along the path, more and more convinced that she had found the right decision. She would definitely sell the apartment, pay off Kevin, and go away. It was better to live in the middle of nowhere than to live in a place where every day she could wait for another nasty thing from Michael. But will he really live like that, happy to get away with it? Anna decides that time will put everything in its place. Michael will answer for all his evil deeds. Suddenly, a tinted van stopped on the path next to the park. 2 masked men jumped out of it and rushed to Anna's children. The woman froze for a second, and then with a shout rushed to them. One of them deftly threw the bishop into the cabin and jumped in, and the second one rushed after. He was overtaken by Anna. She grabbed him by the sleeve. "Yeah, fuck you." He bellowed and pushed the woman as hard as he could. She fell to the grass. A frightened Liam stood on the path, looking at his mom and the car. And then the thug grabbed the boy and held a knife to him. "The chicken is fucking evil," he said. "It's all his own fault." No, Anna didn't start crying, begging, crawling on her knees. She was an enraged tigress, threw herself at the criminal, and beat his hand with her teeth. He shrieked. The knife fell out. He recoiled and loosened his grip. Liam immediately flew aside, and the bandit waved his hand, into which the woman had fallen. Finally, with a solid blow to the head, he was able to disarm her. She fell down again, and the bandit jumped into the car, and the car sped away. "My daughter, my girl." Anna screamed, trying to get up, but her legs would not obey. Nearby, Liam was hysterical. Anna grabbed him, pressed him. Her boy should not be so upset. "You can't operate on his heart. He's going to have a heart attack." "Liam, don't cry. It's a game. She'll be right back, though," the woman mumbled. The first thing that came to mind, she looked around in hope. Maybe someone had seen what had happened, but the park was empty. People had been walking here before the incident. But when the commotion started, suddenly everyone dissolved, grabbing their children, toys, books. Once again, Anna was alone with her misfortune. She got up with difficulty, took Liam firmly by the handle, and went to the police station. Thankfully, the bus came right away. Again, you saw her at the entrance, already familiar investigator. What are you up to again? My daughter was taken away from me. Anna said slowly and clearly. I'm sure Michael did it. You don't believe me, but he's a scary man. His people just tried to hurt my son, and my son went completely crazy. The investigator grinned and turned to the duty officer. Call the medics. My daughter was taken away from me. Anna raised her voice. Can't you hear me? I hear, irritatedly answered the investigator. Now the medics will come, we'll deal with it. Stay here. I'll call you. And he went to the office phone. Anna realized that Michael was calling. She looked at the desk clerk in despair. The young man was staring at the woman. And then she saw that he was whispering to her and pointing to the door. Run, she understood. While the investigator was engrossed in the conversation, went away from the department, holding her son's hand. And then Anna ran, grabbing already Liam in her arms. Yes, it was hard. She stumbled, but the woman realized that it was faster this way anyway. And she couldn't take transportation now. She could be detained. She couldn't go to the apartment either. But she had nowhere to go. She locked the door strictly, told Liam to sit in her room like a mouse, and began to think frantically about where she could find her daughter. The doorbell rang. It was the militia. She cautiously stepped away from the door and froze, listening to those, talked among themselves, and decided that they would come tomorrow, when they had a warrant for the arrest of this abnormal. They left, not sitting under the door in a stupor. It seemed to her that she was in a theater of the absurd. No one is trying to help her, but only put out in everything extreme. But where was her daughter, not remembered like slow motion? The last moments she saw her daughter. Here she is thrown into the car. Her daughter screams in fear. Anna's heart was bleeding from the unknown. Where is her little girl? What's wrong with her? The phone rang. Anna rushed to it, but immediately stopped. So she will give herself away. It's probably the police looking for her. They'll realize she's home. A team will come and get her. And Liam, what about him? She sat down again at the wall, and the doorbell rang again. She didn't even move. I won't open the door. It's Kevin. I'm alone. She heard a man's voice. The woman sighed heavily. Had he really come for the debt now? Everyone had decided to finish her off. Maybe they were right. She couldn't take it anymore. She swung the doors open. Yes, it was Kevin, and alone. He looked back at the stairs, then pushed Anna into the apartment, went in himself, and closed the door. Pack up. Deafeningly, he said, and boy Beria. You need to run. What are you for? Where? Why? Anna, not understanding, looked at the man. Michael's men will be here soon. He's very angry with you, and he will destroy both you and the boy. Kate, where with tears said a woman like him. But I didn't tell you anything. You must understand. I'm not going to fight Michael. It's not worth it. Then why did you come? I'm ashamed in front of Suryodha. He's a good man. He was a good man. I want to help you in some way. But I'm sorry, not without my own interest. Do you have to write a deed of gift for me now? Oh, that's it? Bitter. Anna grinned. I was to believe in your sincerity. I am sincere. I'm helping you and your son get out of town. But you have to understand, I need this apartment. It's worth money. And I didn't give Sergei mine. I gave him money from the common pot. How will you help us? I'll take you to my country house. Tomorrow they'll make new documents for you. I'll put you on a train and you can go to Canada, to hell, but far away from here. What about my daughter Kate? I can't do without her. Anna cried. Save your son at least. You weren't in the park enough. You know everything. Everyone knows, but no one will say a word in your defense. Everyone's afraid of Michael. What kind of devil is he? She cried. My God, he's got my girl. How could he? To Kate, don't worry. I know he and his wife want a daughter. They're not gonna hurt her son, I said safer. Kevin convinced Anna, and she, having hastily packed her things, picked up the frightened Liam in her arms, obediently followed her savior, who also pursued his advantage. But here we had to choose between two evils, as they call it. Kevin did not deceive. He sheltered the unfortunate woman in the dacha, then corrected her son, documents, handed her train tickets. The destination is some small station on the edge with the U.S. border far away, but there they will certainly not find. Already at the train, Anna asked for Kevin's phone number. Why? He was surprised. Forget about everything I can't. What if something about Kate becomes known? If it does, I'll find a way to tell you. Get out of here and take care of your son. Does he look like James? The locomotive called, honking. Kevin literally pushed Anna and Liam into the car and the train moved. Where? Why was she running? She understood with difficulty, but there was no other choice at that moment. Anna could either be jailed or locked up in the hospital, blaming her for her daughter's disappearance. They had been on the road for about 2 days. Anna wiped her tears every now and then the whole way. Liam cried often. The boy was scared, confused. He could not understand what had happened, why they had left their apartment, what had happened to Katya, and he could still clearly feel the blade of the knife on his throat when the bandit grabbed him. Other passengers, seeing upset mother and son, did not interfere with questions. It did not concern them. It's a troubled time. Everyone has their own problems. And in the morning, Anna and Liam finally came out at the station, a small station, behind it low houses. It was a workers' village. Where to go? Where to squat? Anna stood at a loss. Then she heard the bells ringing. It was like my soul was stirring. "Mommy, where are we going?" my son asked timidly. "Let's go to Liam. I think I know," Anna said confidently. That morning there were few people in the temple. Young Peter, after the service, went to his office. Suddenly he noticed a young woman with a little boy. They timidly entered the temple. They had seen enough. The woman put the boy on a bench near the wall, and she bought a bench and a candle and went to the icon. Something in their video confused the young priest. They were as lost as if they'd been shaken out of a sack into the waves. And then it was just a matter of taking it from there. Peter quietly approached the woman and heard her words addressed to the icon, "Protector of mother's children." And I ask for myself, Father, as my own. Save and preserve. Help my Kate, wherever she is. Liam is my protector. Who else can I ask for protection? My strength is failing. Show me the way. What do I do next? Where do I go? I'm sorry, I don't know any prayers, and I'm not even baptized. Well, it doesn't matter. If my heart is open to God, how many more trials do I need? I don't know, but only one. To keep my children. Anna was angry with bitter tears, and the priest stood behind her, sincerely sympathizing with this poor woman. It is clear that she is in trouble. Anna turned around and quietly squealed when she saw the priest. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you," in an even voice said Peter. "You are not gray that I heard your words addressed. Is there anything I can do for you?" "I don't think so." "Anna, although maybe you can tell me who rents rooms in your village." "My son and I are far away. We have no one here." "Who to go to?" "I do not know. My feet led me to the temple." "That's right," nodded Peter. "When your soul is in turmoil, you should turn your thoughts to God. But I'm not baptized, and neither is my son." "I'm sorry, it's probably a sin that we came. And you need a scarf. I didn't cover my head. It's not a sin. God brought you here. And the fact that you're not baptized, it's not a problem if your soul is open to God. He hears you anyway. And we'll find the handkerchief." Peter nodded to the old woman from the shop, and she understood everything without further ado and brought the handkerchief with her. "There you are," Peter smiled. "You speak from the road. You must be tired. Let's go to my office. I gave you tea. Study." Anna was surprised. "What about it?" "We also have our own organization and a lot of paperwork." "And you thought only at the service Father stands." "To be honest, yes," Anna admitted. "Oh no, there's plenty to do." Peter approached Liam, who was looking at the bishop with all his eyes. "Well, kid, let's get acquainted. I'm Father Peter. What's your name?" "Liam," the boy said shyly. He was thinking about something. "Well, it's not good to ask tired people questions." He said, "Let's go." They went into a small room, which was Father Peter's study. Father Peter brought 2 glasses of hot herbal tea. Anna only drank a little, and that was all. She did not want to drink or eat. All thoughts were of the daughter she had so easily given away. Ran away. Why? Scared of the bandit. Believed the militia was in on it. Maybe she ran to save her son. And now the realization came that she'd lost Kate. Anna sat, rooting. Liam was chewing on some dried bread with pleasure, and Father Peter was looking at the young woman intently. "And I see you have a great sadness in your heart," he said at last. "If you want, you can tell me." "I can't." Father, lowering his eyes, answered Anna, barely holding back tears. "Not his years I will not, but I know that if you want to talk, I am always ready." Peter thought a little and continued, "You asked me about lodging, and I can help you there. A parishioner of ours was just saying she'd like a place to stay, preferably a decent woman. I think you'd be a good fit. She'll charge a lot. Yes, for free. All she wants is to think she has a helper. She's old." Anna agreed. After leaving the temple, they went with Peter's father to the same woman. Miranda welcomed the guests. When she learned the purpose of the visit, she splashed her hands with joy. She had no idea that there would be a who. "But you don't know me at all," Anna asked her. "What if you don't like me?" "And I have a child, Dato, and I already like you," smiled Miranda. "Especially if your father Peter brought you. My soul is at peace. And the fact that you are with your son is even better. I love the laughter of children in the house. My grandchildren live far away. My son went to the north and settled down. They come to see me once every 2 years at best. That's how I stayed." Miranda's Anna helped her around the house, and Liam took care of her. "I've been having a heart attack. Kate was on my mind. I also wondered how she was going to make a living. She was now living with fake documents, and she wouldn't be able to get a job in her profession. It was good that Kevin had given her some money for the first time. She was living on it now. She sometimes thought that maybe she should have listened to Kevin. Maybe she should have fought for Kate until the end. I mean, who would have put her in jail or taken her to the hospital? It wasn't her fault, and Michael could have been dealt with. At some point, Anna decided to talk to Peter's father. He would often drop by to see how the guests were doing. That evening, Anna was digging in the vegetable garden when the gate creaked. Peter's father came into the yard. They said hello, talked for a while on distracted topics. Then Anna made up her mind. "Do I need your advice, Father?" she said. "Well, apparently, it's time to talk," nodded the priest. "Let's sit down." They went deep into the garden, where there was an old bench. Miranda sat down. There was something in the kitchen, and Liam was beside her. The boy was singing a song that he and the father had learned then. Miranda listened and even managed to hear their harmonious duet from the open window. Miranda and Liam had become friends, smiled Peter. "Yes, Miranda is just like a grandmother for her son," nodded Anna and said quietly. And then suddenly, like sobs, no, and tears ran down her face. "Only I also have a daughter, and I abandoned her, ran away, and fought with worry." She told everything Peter and about Liam's illness, and about debts, and about the death of her husband, and about Michael's threats, and about his offer to give him the daughter. And then she told about the most terrible events, when Anna's daughter was taken away, and how she almost lost her son, how she had to trust a stranger, because the police she had hoped for were in league with Michael. "I didn't do it right." Anna summed it up. "It was like being hypnotized. And now I realize that I betrayed my daughter, as she is small. My daughter, do not blame yourself for anything," soothed her Peter. "If you did it, you must have done it for a reason. Why am I telling you this? I need your advice on how to find Kate in her hometown. I have to go, and I'm afraid of what might happen to me. I also have Liam. Is it possible to contact the police here? I think it's possible. Especially if I know someone there, they'll help me. There's just one thing. I understand that you came here with false papers. Why? Kevin said the police wouldn't find me that way. Apparently, there's already been an APB out on me in the city. Inadequate could have been aggressive, I suspect, hurting his daughter. But that's not true. Kevin himself said he had Kate Michael taken away, as promised. Yes, you've been intimidated." Peter shook his head. "But we'll take care of that. But burn the real documents with you, will you? Then live by them. If I'm detained, it seems to me that nobody will detain you. It looks like you've been tricked. taken advantage of your naivety. But why? My guess is to keep you out of the way. The next day, Anna and Peter went to the police. The investigator listened to Anna, promised to help. Lyosha only unofficially inquired. "And please," asked Peter. Pasha himself. "Oh, sorry, father," nodded the investigator. Anna and Peter left the department for some reason after the conversation with Nick. I felt a little brighter. There was confidence that everything would get better. Good investigator, she sighed and looked questioningly at the father. "Have you known him for a long time?" Peter answered evasively. "We lived and fought. I was a former paratrooper before I could not imagine life without the army. And then I was wounded. I was written off completely. It was a shock for me. I even drank at one time. My fiancé left me after I was discharged. It was bad. And then I met an old man who worked as a watchman at church. I didn't want to live then, and he brought me to the church, and that's when another life opened up to me. I went to the seminary, then I was sent to this village. It's a small parish, but the people are friendly. You say a different meaning. What is it? All our troubles are because there's a lot of evil around, and that's evil. In our hearts we store up irritation, resentment. We must let go, forgive everything. And then the heart will be open for good. You will do good yourself, and it will return to you 100-fold. How interesting. Anna answered thoughtfully. But is it possible to forget and forgive everything? It is impossible. Believe me, sister, you can, but it is difficult. In this way, they reached Miranda's house. Liam was sitting on a bench and flicking seeds. When he saw his mother and father, he rushed towards them. "Mom, where have you been?" exclaimed the boy. "I woke up and you were gone. Mommy didn't dream, as if she came to us. I dream about her too." Hugging her son, the woman confessed, "I hope that soon our dreams will be realized in reality." "How's that for real?" with a wrinkle of the forehead. Liam actually answered for Anna Peter. "God willing, they will." The priest said goodbye to them, hurried to the temple for the service. Anna and Liam went to the house where Miranda was already preparing breakfast. "Miranda, why do you work so hard?" Anna gasped when she saw the mountain of food. "I would have come and made breakfast myself. It's not hard for me." The old woman smiled in joy. "I have the meaning of life in the cares. It is not for nothing that I open my eyes every morning." Anna hugged the old woman. For this short time, they had become like relatives. All life will work out, and Kate will surely be found. A few days passed. Anna was waiting. For some reason, she trusted the investigator Nick, a friend of Peter's father. But that evening, the investigator himself drove up to Miranda's cabin. By the look on his face, Anna realized she wasn't going to hear anything good. "And why did you leave out the fact that you yourself abandoned your daughter?" "No preamble," Nick asked. "I did," Anna exclaimed. "That's not true. I told you how it was. You told me, and I, like a fool, believed you. I put the authorities on their ears, saying that a poor woman's child was taken away from her. Threatened another child. Your city made the request. And what do I find out? Turns out you officially relinquished custody of your daughter. They sent me all the paperwork. I didn't do anything like that," Anna whispered in horror. "I don't even know where the guardianship office is. This is your handwriting, your signature." Nick showed her a copy of the application, where Anna had handwritten her own rejection of Kate, and the signature was hers. "It wasn't me who yelled, Anna. Nick, please believe me, I couldn't have written that. I did everything in my power. I'm sorry. At least tell me where my daughter is now." "She's not exactly in an orphanage. Michael took her. I don't have any information. I only know that her papers are being prepared for adoption." Nick dryly said goodbye and left, cursing himself for getting involved in this case. Peter should have trusted some obscure person. He had forgotten how to understand people with his spirituality. It was possible, of course, to still attract this Anna, at least for the fact that she used fake documents. But Nick decided to let it go. Fine. Otherwise, you can already with Peter can be completely ruined. He left. She stood at the fence, staring at nothing. Had she lost her daughter forever? Soon Peter's father came to see her. He listened to the woman, thought, and then suddenly suggested that if this Michael lived in Boston and had a fairly high position in society, then we should go to Boston. We could find him, find out where he lived, and then see if he had Kate. Then what? Anna looked hopefully at her father. Then we'll think about it, he sighed. I'll go. I have to go to the hospital. Are you sick? No, I just need to get checked out. It's just a formality, but it's only Boston. Well, you see, that's fortunate. So I'll go with you. That's not a good idea. What if Michael sees you? No, I'll fight him off even in my cassock, but it's hard to know how he'll respond. You wouldn't recognize it. Do you have a photo? Anna immediately rushed to the house. In a secret pocket of her purse, she kept a photo card. Girls, it's one of the few valuables she was able to take during her escape. She gave the father the photo. He left, promising to find out. A couple days later, he left for Boston. Anna waited impatiently for him. 10 days later, Peter's father returned. She heard about it. She rushed to the church. Father Peter was just coming out of the churchyard. When he saw Anna, he sighed heavily for some reason. The woman's heart sank. What with hope and fear, she asked. I can't be happy about anything. Father Peter shook his head. I'm sorry, Anna. Father Peter told her what he could find out about Michael. It turned out that he had withdrawn his candidacy. Officially, he had withdrawn, but unofficially, his criminal record had come to light. And to avoid a scandal, he was persuaded not to participate. In addition, he had contradictions with his business partners, and he soon left the country. Peter managed to visit the house where Michael lived, and after talking to the guard, he was able to find out that indeed, a few days ago, Michael returned to Boston with a little girl. Michael's wife was pleased as an elephant, said they had a daughter now. So all three of them traveled overseas. The little girl, how did she feel? Through the tears, Anna asked. The guard said she was sad, cried a lot, but Nellie, Michael's wife, treated her very well. After a little hesitation, Peter answered, I realize that's hardly any consolation, but Kate treats her well. Kate, maybe it's another girl. Anna perked up. No, Peter's father lowered his eyes. The guard recognized her. It was Kate who brought Michael to Boston. It was her and his wife he left with. Anna's legs gave out. Her last hope was gone. She had believed until the last moment that her daughter would be returned. She would be able to hug her, to apologize for leaving her alone. Anna howled like a wounded wolf. At her scream, Miranda and Liam ran out of the house, frightened. Mommy, you're sick. Every now and then the boy repeated, touching his mother's hand, but she saw and heard nothing from grief. She finally realized that she would never see her daughter again. By nightfall, Anna had a fever. The ambulance came. The doctor gave an injection and said that it all looked like a nervous breakdown. It will not help only calmness and positive emotions. Where do you get those emotions? The following days, Miranda surrounded with care and attention as a mother warmly cared for her guest, and Liam squeezed to his mother all the time. She hugged her son, realized how much he needed her, that she had to be stronger. For his sake alone, there was no strength at all. Peter's father also held Anna. They talked for a long time, and probably these conversations played their part. Anna came to terms with the loss of her daughter, as well as with everything that had happened to her. And then she looked at the bishop with different eyes. Father Peter, a young man, well-mannered, reserved, decent. Anna felt his warmth and care right on her skin, and her heart warmed at the sound of his voice. She was already looking forward to these meetings and these conversations, and Peter's father was in a hurry to get to the monkey house. He also made friends with Liam. Batiushka took him to the temple, told him many interesting stories. The boy was ready to listen to Father Peter for hours and follow him. All this could not hide from the eyes of attentive Miranda. One day she started talking to her lodger. I suppose you, Liam, will soon be moving in with me. With a sly squint in her eyes, she asked, How to where? Anna was confused. We're stressing you out. Miranda, do not think. I will not sit on your neck. Peter's father said that there is a place in the library. The day after tomorrow, the director has already invited me for an interview. Don't be silly, sweetheart, Miranda said. You and Liam are a pleasure. But that's not the point. I can see you like our Peter to your heart's content. What are you talking about? Anna blushed. I never thought of anything like that. Oh, come on, you can't hide these old things from me. That's what I think. When the soul is drawn to a person, it is a sin to repel that feeling. Anna looked at Miranda thoughtfully. Then she sighed heavily. Miranda, he's a priest. What difference does it make? Miranda wrung her hands. He's a man first and foremost, and he's not looking at you as his parishioner. He's in love with you. That's for sure. And you have a crush on him. But I'm not even baptized. How long does it take to be baptized? Especially when God himself has ordained it. So you mean to say that I should be a Priadia too? Confusedly smiled Anna. It's strange. And in general, I don't care about relationships now. The heart does not ask sooner or later, it loves, and that's all. And why do you remember such a word? You're a priestess, mother, and you're going to be? Oh no, I shook my head. Anna, I'm far from it. I don't think you are. Miranda smiled slyly again, and the old woman was right. A year after Anna arrived in the village, she married Peter's father. Now she had a new life, and she had a life. It turned out not to be a bad one at all. Anna had retired from the library. Now she was baptized, and she was a mother. And at the church, she taught Sunday school classes for the local working woman. With Peter, they were in perfect harmony, and Liam was delighted. He has such an amazing daddy. Not his first daddy. The boy was still smarting. He was nice too, but the new one was a real hero, a former paratrooper. Now a priest, Peter became the boy's standard of behavior. 5 years passed. During this time, Anna gave birth to a son and a daughter. She loved her children with all her heart, and Peter was a good father, loving and caring. Liam as the eldest and never felt neglected, and adored his little brother and sister. Anna often watched him fussing with her. It was a pain in her soul. One thought that somewhere else there was also the elder and her first. Yes, she had come to terms with the loss, but she couldn't forget. Anna's eldest son was glad his mother was no longer crying. She's smiling, and the new daddy is so wonderful. But memories of the past lingered firmly in the boy's mind. He remembered his little sister Kate. He remembered his daddy. He remembered his mom screaming in the park. Then she cried for a long time, and they were going somewhere. The boy's mind was imprinted with that period of his life. That it was scary. And then Peter's dad showed up, and things started to get better. When Liam was 12 years old, Father Peter talked to him for the first time about his future profession. Will I be a priest like you? Without hesitation, the boy answered. Peter only smiled and shook his head. And then he said, don't hurry, son, with your choice. Everyone has his own way to the temple, and you have another path ahead of you. And it is necessary to go through it to understand with your heart what your soul is drawn to. And now you just want to copy me, don't copy me. But I like being in the temple to help. You like the smell. Liam objected. That's not enough. Think about it. There's time. I've decided to organize a military patriotic club at Sunday school. I've wanted to for a long time. I haven't had enough time for it. And there was some paperwork, but it's all sorted out. I'll be recruiting soon. What are they going to do? Prayer recitation. That too. Peter smiled, and then seriously added, but the main thing they will learn to be real warriors, because the true Orthodox are first of all a warrior defender of the fatherland. And you think I will succeed? Asked Liam and thought. And you try. Soon, as Father Peter said, a military patriotic club of Orthodox youth opened at the church. He personally practiced with the guys on a par with religious teaching. Father Peter and taught the children history, hand-to-hand combat, basic medical care, and much more. His main task was to bring up the guys to be patriots, real men. Many organizations, including the Cadet Corps, cooperated closely with the Military Patriotic Club. Guys from the club often participated in various competitions, gatherings, socializing with the cadets. Liam, who had been in the club from the beginning of its formation, at some point realized that he wanted to be a military man. When he told his parents, Peter approved of his son's decision. Anna, on the other hand, was worried that the military is not a quiet life at all times. "I don't want a quiet life," said the grown-up son. "I want a real life of my own." I didn't object. The mother only crossed herself. So at the age of 16, he left the house in which his childhood passed. Starting from the age of 7, the kid convinced his brother and sister. Jacob and Cindy cried so much, worried about the upcoming separation, but at the same time felt proud that their brother will be a military man. Peter was proud too. Anna too. Only she was anxious to let go of the boy, who was not yet smart, to the big city. Besides, the past loss of her eldest daughter was painful. What if something happened to her son? But could she resist her son's adult decision? Of course not. There was hope that her son's past illnesses, in this case, would help take her son away. But no. The malformation was removed at an early age, and Liam was considered perfectly healthy. And now Liam is already a cadet. The years at the cadet school went by in a flash. Then the boy entered the military institute. Liam will be, like his second father, a paratrooper. True, he was a little worried when he passed the medical commission, but he was recognized fit. There was one thing, though. He could get a military profession, but he wasn't allowed to become a professional paratrooper. Nevertheless, Liam was able to enter the military institute. He realized that his dream would never be fully realized, but he would still serve the fatherland, at least at the headquarters. He studied. Liam faithfully passed all norms. And if not for one entry in his medical history, everything would have been different. But everything turned out the way it did. Once a year, he came to his native village. Here his mother, father, little sister, and brother were waiting for him joyfully. For Liam, it was already a long-awaited meeting. One day on another visit, he had a conversation with Anna that stirred up painful memories in the woman. "Mom, I remember her," Liam said. "Who?" "Kate's older sister. I still remember the song I learned with her. I used to sing it to her or Cindy afterwards. I know, I've heard it. They still sing it sometimes. I don't forget Kate for a second." Anna confessed and sighed heavily. "I wonder what she's like now, how her life has turned out. She's probably studying at some university now too. Maybe we could try to find her now. Where is she? She's probably in another country." Liam thought about it. He knew the whole story. It was difficult indeed. Kate probably had a different last name, and she had forgotten her old life. But maybe. There are programs to find relatives nowadays. Could we write to the newspaper? He suggested it. "I'm afraid, son, that if the whole truth comes out, it'll be hard on Kate. She probably thinks that Bandit is her father." Anna shook her head. Liam had to agree with his mother. But the thoughts of his older sister did not leave him. Time passed. In the 5th year, Liam met a nice girl. Nancy was graduating from medical school. Between young people quickly began a relationship. A month before graduation, Liam proposed to Nancy. And then we got married. However, their honeymoon didn't last long. A week later, Liam went on a business trip. And when he came back 3 months later, Nancy was delighted. They were about to become parents. A month before the birth of their daughter, Liam was transferred to the same town where he was born. Liam was a little confused. How amazing it is to find oneself in the place where the first years of one's life have passed, and there seem to be some pictures from the past in one's memory. But everything seems unfamiliar and alien. Liam even found the house where they lived. There was an elderly couple living in their apartment. How did they get this accommodation? Liam wasn't interested, although it was a bit frustrating. After all, in fact, his mother had been robbed of this apartment. But the man decided not to rake up the past, otherwise there is no telling what anthill to unleash. Everyone will still get his own in the end. The young family was given a service apartment. Soon a daughter was born. Liam suggested naming the girl Katya in honor of his older sister. Nancy was a little doubtful whether it should be in honor of deceased relatives. "We can't. And Kate is alive, I'm sure," Liam convinced her. And convinced Kate is a great name. A few more years passed. Liam served in a military unit. He was often away on business, and for long periods of time. Nancy got used to it. When Kate was 3, she went to work in the same military unit where her husband was stationed. They put her daughter in kindergarten. Both military and civilian children went there. Everything went on as normal. Nancy and her daughter. While waiting for her husband and daddy, the work of the daycare center on weekends and holidays was not bored. Nancy traveled to her parents. Good thing they didn't live far away, and visited them occasionally. Jacob and Cindy were already studying at Moscow universities. Anna and Peter had only been away once, and it was hard for Anna to be in the city where she had had so much grief. Nancy and Liam understood that, and that's why when Liam had a vacation, they aspired to faraway Canada to her parents. In short, it was a large and close-knit family, though separated by miles. But when Kate turned 5, all the relatives were able to come to the birthday party, and Liam was just there. Kate was taken to daycare that morning. It was decided that the birthday girl should not see all the preparations for the party. Nancy and her mom Anna were preparing the holiday table. Cindy with Jacob and Peter decorated the apartment, and Liam was in the unit. In the evening, he had asked to leave early because his wife had asked him to pick up her daughter from the kindergarten. Kate came out of the group, happy in her hands she was pressing some sheets. "The kids congratulated me," she said happily, handing the sheets to her father. They were drawings by the kids. Some of them drew something like a cake. Some of them drew balloons. Some were trying to draw Kate. Liam looked at the drawings with a smile and did not pay attention to the boy who left the group after Kate. The boy came up to the girl and hugged her. "Kate, will you have a cake today?" he asked. "Yes," she answered happily. "A big one. Mommy told me, and presents and presents and presents. Daddy promised to get me a bear. This one." The girl raised her hands and jumped up. "No, there is no such thing." The boy shook his head. Something Liam happens on the muzzle of Kate's lips and turned to her father. "Dad, tell me." Yes, there are," said Liam, pulling away from the drawings. "Kate, stop bragging. Let's go home." The girl ran up to her father, and they fussed at the clothes drawer, and the boy stood there looking at them. "If you were my sister, you would have invited me to the party." Suddenly he asked, and without waiting for an answer, continued, "I would sing you a song. Do you want to?" And then he sang, "I'm ready to throw myself into the ocean. I'm ready to climb a volcano without fear. I'm not afraid of any beast, but I'm afraid to be a sister. And it's time to say so openly. What's a little brother? It's worse than a shell. It's a girl's song," replied Kate over her shoulder, and then turned and showed her tongue. And Liam, hearing the song, froze in place. He had known the words since he was a child, and it was the song his older sister used to hum to him. How did this boy know it? The song wasn't too well known. Liam walked over to the child, squatted down in front of him, and looked into his eyes. "Boy, where did you hear this song?" he asked. Not her mom sang it. The boy answered quietly and lowered his eyes. It seemed like he was about to cry. "Mom, where is she?" "Mommy's in the hospital." "Baby, what's her name?" "Cullowed?" asked Liam. "Kate. I'm Liam." Liam was pierced by a hunch. Maybe it's his older sister's baby. The woman's name is Kate, and she named her son after her brother. He named his daughter after his sister. No, it was as unbelievable as Kate. His sister could have ended up here, and it is certain that she was taken overseas when she was 7 years old. A kindergarten teacher came out of the group. When she saw the boy, she shook her head. "Liam, did you run away again? I told you to play with the car in the corner. Come on, don't stop Katya from going home." "But I think I'll be taken away too," answered the child quietly. "Liam, your grandmother will come later. You know that." Sighing, the teacher answered and took the boy's hand. And adult Liam stood still, realizing what he had heard. Liam, but that Michael really had a surname. The teacher and the boy went to the group, and Liam put on tights in front of his daughter and followed. He called the teacher and asked where the boy's mother was. "She's in the hospital right now." Looking sadly at little Liam, who was busy with the machine, the woman answered. "A week ago, she was hit by a car. The culprit fled without calling for help. Kate is now in the hospital, and it is not known if she will make it out of the coma. Oh my God, what a disaster." Liam said and turned pale. His heart was pounding harder and harder. He was convinced that he had met his nephew and almost found his older sister. You said the grandmother would come for the boy. And when they usually come by closing time, the tutor's lips curled. I sometimes have to sit up even later, waiting for her. Is she working? No. Sorry. Why all these questions? The woman looked suspiciously at Liam. You see, I had an older sister who disappeared years ago. And I think Kate might be the one. And I also think that Liam and I even look alike. The woman looked at Liam in surprise, then at little Liam. Indeed, both are blonde, curly-haired. The resemblance is certainly there, but it's all so strange. If you want, you can have a chat with Liam's grandmother. But it will have to wait, she replied, thinking. We'll wait. Liam nodded in response. Of course, Kate wanted to go home for the holiday, but Liam convinced her that he had serious business here, almost a military assignment. The girl knew that military assignments were serious for her daddy, so she sighed heavily and sat down on the bench and waited. Parents came and went home with the boys. Soon everyone was sorted out except the boy Liam. At first he was in the playroom, several times tried to go out into the waiting room, but the teacher did not let him in. And then she waved her hand and let him communicate with the priest and her father. Anna will make a lesson plan for tomorrow. It was already the beginning of 8 when the door to the daycare center opened, and they came in, dressed not yet old, but bad-looking women. Liam, get ready from the threshold, shouted Vanya. Why aren't you dressed yet? Wait for you some more. The boy flinched at the sound of her voice, and then obediently went to his box. Pardon me, Liam stepped towards the woman. I need to talk to you. I just don't know where to start. Start with the main thing. The woman smirked. Liam could smell the strong odor of booze. Overcome with squeamishness, Liam asked if you were Liam's own grandmother. Why do you care? A little busy, the woman replied. What do you care? I just want to know. Are you his own grandmother? Or is it your adopted daughter's son, firmly pronounced Liam? And this is not idle curiosity. I have every reason to think I'm looking at my own nephew. You don't seem to drink, but you're talking nonsense. The woman muttered. Then she rushed to help the boy dress. She didn't say another word, and in a minute she left the kindergarten, grabbing Liam, who was dressed up. And Liam Sr. decided to follow where the woman lived. He and his daughter got into the car and slowly followed her. Soon the woman and the boy disappeared into one of the old 5-story buildings. Well, he's got an approximate address, and he'll set up the apartment later. That's what Liam decided. And now it's time to take my daughter to the party. This little girl is completely bored. They've been waiting for them for a long time. But from this holiday was not spoiled at all. There was a huge cake and gifts, including this very bear, and also a sea of congratulations to the little birthday girl. Kate was delighted and all the relatives rejoiced. Liam also participated in the celebration, but his thoughts were also fighting. Did he really find his sister? It was after the fun was over and all the many guests had scattered to sleep in different corners of the apartment. Nancy asked in a whisper to her husband Liam, "Why are you like this?" Asked he, thinking of his detached. "My daughter has a holiday. All the relatives are gathered, and you were flying somewhere in the clouds. All evening, what's the business trip again?" Nancy looked anxiously at her husband. Liam shook his head negatively. Then he briefly told about the story at the daycare center. Nancy listened and agreed with her husband. "It's weird. Don't say anything to Anna's mom yet," she advised. "She'll worry. I didn't think so. Tomorrow after the service, I'll go to the house. I think I'll talk to the neighbors. Maybe the woman will succeed. It's a lot of coincidences, of course, but maybe I'm wrong." The morning is wiser. Nancy smiled and hugged her husband. Let's go to sleep already, and at night Liam dreamed of his childhood. He was playing hide and seek with his older sister and couldn't find her all the time. He could only hear her laughing and her voice, "And I'm here, and I'm here." All the next day, Liam looked at his watch impatiently, and as soon as the service was over, he rushed to that old 5-story building. Outside the house, as usual, sat old ladies, those who always know about everyone. Liam immediately identified them by a judgmental look of their own, a kind of surveillance cameras. "Excuse me, dear ladies," Liam addressed them with a charming smile. "Do you know everyone in this house?" Let's say one of them replied with a tight lip. "There's a woman about 60 years old in the second entrance. She still has a grandson named Liam. I cast my line. Liam lives." "And what?" answered the second sphere for Liam eyes. "It doesn't seem like anything. I know her. She's a former acquaintance of my mother's. I think she's in trouble right now. I wish I could help." The man lied. "So don't talk here either," grinned the first old lady. "What do you need us for?" "Yeah, see, she pretends she doesn't know me. She's probably ashamed of something. Obviously, what for?" Formula 2 old lady's alcoholic daughter is 1 foot in the grave, and she's still drinking. What's the child welfare agency looking at? The boy should be taken away from her. What's she drinking so much? I just can't believe it's her. It used to be different. Was frozen first old lady laughed a little and then gave Liam this information. Nellie, what was the name of the woman Liam was interested in? Came to this town 10 years ago. They say that before that she lived abroad with a rich husband, but her husband was a bandit. He left Russia because he was running away from his buddies, and they still found him after many years and nailed him, and took all the wealth away from Nellie. She barely got away. At first she lived in Boston, but her life there wasn't sugar. She came to this town. She got in touch with Kevin, the local market owner. Word was they'd known each other before. They lived together for a while, and then Kevin kicked her out. Found himself a younger, more attractive woman. Didn't leave her penniless, though. He bought an apartment in the building, even gave her some money. Nellie lived like that. And then Kevin died of a heart attack and got sad. Nellie couldn't get any money now. And she had a daughter who was surprisingly not like her mother, a decent girl, respectful, and educated. Kate had a teaching degree from Boston, worked in the city. Only she was too gullible. Fooled me. One handsome boy played and left. He went off to some unknown place. And Kate stayed pregnant. Nellie yelled at her every day to get rid of the baby. But Kate didn't listen to her. She gave birth to her son and took good care of the boy. She sure did. Except there wasn't enough money in the family. When Liam was 1.5 years old, she gave him to a nursery and went to work. She was torn between school and daycare. Nellie hardly helped her daughter. As if she was a stranger to her, to earn more, got another job at the publishing house. That's how it went on. And the other day, when she was coming home from work, she got hit by a car, and God only knows what will happen next. Liam listened to the old ladies who were already telling him the story and realized that the puzzles were coming together. He had definitely found his sister. "Is she home now?" he asked the old ladies. "Who is? She's not, is she? Where else would she be? She's already picked up her grandson from kindergarten. Now she's probably sitting in the kitchen, drinking the child allowance she gets for the girl. What's the grief? They'll probably take the boy to an orphanage if the mother shows up. Don't talk like that." Liam couldn't stand it. Then he corrected himself. "Forgive me, dear ladies. Thank you very much for such an informative story." And then he gave the old lady a couple of chocolates, which, by the way, were in his pocket. "Actually, I bought them for my daughter. What can you do?" The old ladies did their best. "What will you be to them?" One of the old ladies remembered, unwrapping a chocolate bar. "And I am from the supervisory authorities and will be without blinking an eye," replied Liam. That's how the old ladies looked at each other. Perhaps it's for the best. Go, my dear, to apartment 12. That's where he is with his grandson. Peter bowed gratefully and went into the entrance. And in a couple of minutes, he was standing at the door, hesitating to press the bell. But it turned out that the bell didn't work. Liam knocked softly at first, then harder. Finally, he pounded with his fist. Who let him do that? He heard a woman's voice on his left. The door swung open, and a trembling Nellie appeared on the threshold. "Who are you?" she asked, not recognizing me. "Your conscience." Liam answered her and gently moved the woman back. He went into the apartment. "Where are you yelling?" "Nellie, I'm calling the police right now. They'll take care of this right away. And you'll answer for everything, for the missing girl, for the frightened mother, for the boy who was threatened with a knife. Your husband's scumbags. Why are you pale? Something came back to me." The ones Nellie repeated with fear. "And I am that boy," answered Liam. Of course, he was going all in, not sure of everything. But he realized from Nellie's reaction that he had hit the mark. It wasn't my fault. Kicked Nellie out with her nose. It was all Michael's idea the other day. Tell me. They went into a room that clearly hadn't been cleaned in weeks. Apparently not since Kate had been in the hospital. Nellie sat down on the couch, rubbing the collar of the tallest blouse, and began a confusing story. Its ending was not much different from what Liam had already heard from the old ladies. The story, on the other hand, had begun much earlier. It was when Michael had given Anna money for her son's treatment. He liked the young teacher, and he was already imagining how she would thank him. But she showed her claws, and it infuriated Michael. No woman had the right to refuse him. Nellie knew that Michael in a provincial town on someone fell for someone he had it happen from time to time, and therefore did not particularly worried, just as long as her husband gave her money. Grandfather, he may not like her, but her father is afraid of criminal authority. And at that time, Nellie was finally diagnosed with secondary infertility. There was also an unsuccessful pregnancy termination in her youth. Nellie was in shock, and not from the fact that she could not have children, but from the fact that all her friends flaunt with children. And she couldn't. Yes, she wanted a live doll. She even wanted to get one from an orphanage, but she was afraid of the heredity of those babies. And that's when Michael said he was going to have a daughter soon, but she was already 7 years old. Why, Nellie was fine with that. There would be no screams at their waking, immediately ready princess. That being said, in the picture Michael had shown, the little girl was adorable. And yes, she knew she was the daughter of the very woman Michael was after. So what? Nellie even felt a certain satisfaction. Now you'll know, you bastard. How to drive other people's men crazy? No, she wasn't jealous. But Michael was a little nervous this time. In order to get the girl as quickly and quietly as possible, Michael built a whole combination. First, he fed the local law enforcement. Then he made a deal with Kevin the traitor. Kevin owed Michael a lot of favors, so he agreed to play the worry part. He was able to convince Anna that escaping the city was vital. After all, the boy had already been attacked. By the way, no one was going to harm Liam at that time. It was a bit of theater Lisa. But Anna believed in gratitude for care, so easily gave the apartment to Kevin. And he, having put Anna and the child on the train, immediately rushed to report to Michael that the deed was done. At the same time was already written a fake refusal and a daughter. In the guardianship department also turned out to be people greedy for money. But Michael was not stingy, and soon Kate became officially his and Nellie's daughter, and Kevin sold the apartment Anna and James, and was also happy with the situation. Nellie liked the girl, though she cried. The girl at first, all the time. Nothing. Good psychologists. The pills did their job. Kate began to forget her old family, and Nellie was thrilled. She's a mom now, but there was a little more worry. Dad was taken out. Nellie had had an attempt on Michael's life, and then the dirt on her husband came out, and he had to withdraw his candidacy. But even here, Michael turned out, gathered his wife and new daughter, and took abroad. There they lived, and then still found and removed. I had to go back. Liam already knew the next part of the story, from the ubiquitous old ladies. And it wasn't my fault from the cello clip. It was all Michael's idea. I was sure your mother had agreed to the whole thing, crying and naked. But I could see in her eyes that she knew she was lying. She's just trying to get out of it now, but it was too late to deal with the past. The main culprits are already in the grave. Where is the boy? Nellie asked dryly as she looked at him. Your grandson Liam. So in the room. And Nellie waved towards the closed door. It turned out that she had locked the boy so he wouldn't disturb her. Liam took the key from her, opened the door, and stepped into the room. Little Liam was sitting with a huddled up in a corner. Hi, the adult Liam tried to smile. Do you recognize me? Daddy Kate quietly mumbled to the boy. That's right. Do you want some more? I'll let you in on a secret. I'm your uncle. My uncle. It's like when a child's eyes suddenly sparkle. My uncle. Uncle, take me away from here. The boy cried out in tears and threw himself on Liam's neck. The grown man was defensive in his eyes. God, how hard it is for this little boy to live forever with a drunken grandmother, not getting a drop of warmth from her. Auntie sobbed, the child said. Grandma says that my mom will die, and she will turn me in an orphanage because I am a mistake of nature. I don't understand as I am that I am something else. And I don't believe my mom is going to die. That's what Grandma says on purpose to make me cry. When I cry, she laughs. What a bastard. Barely audible, said Liam. And then answered the child, you will not stay more than a minute with your grandmother. We're going to Kate's now. Mommy, I will see, wiping tears, asked the boy. Uncle, I miss you so much. You will see. Liam answered him firmly. When they left the room, Nellie was pouring himself another shot of hot liquor for taking the puppy. It was no use to him anyway. She remarked grimly. You are not a woman, said Liam. You're a monster. Why did you do that to the baby and Kate? Did you love her at all? Loved her when the money was checkmated, Nellie. Then you have no idea what it cost me to raise her. The way I had to take her to Boston. She used to give me a hard time about not working. She loved it. I've been working since freshman year. Why? Because I was born a plebeian. She was born a slave. It's in her blood. I'm used to an easy life, so go on living it. Only I answered her Liam. And he left with his little namesake from this apartment, from this old house. And their apartment was noisy and cheerful. All the guests hadn't left yet. They were finishing the cake and the salads. Kate was the center of attention. When Liam appeared in the doorway with a little boy, everyone froze in bewilderment. Kate, on the other hand, was delighted to see her Saudi friend. Oh, Liam, hi, she exclaimed. Have you come to play with me? Charlie answered the boy, looking at the remains of the festive table, where in the center was a huge piece of cake. So in the beginning to feed the guest, commanded the adult Liam. And then, when the children sat down at the table, nodded Peter, and they understood without words, and they followed their son out into the hallway. Mom, don't worry. But I think I've almost found Kate, Liam said. Kate. Anna was confused. She looked uncomprehendingly into the room, and only then the meaning of his words came to her. Anna turned pale and gasped at my Kate. Yes, Mommy, your daughter. She's in the hospital now. I'll go to her tomorrow. I'll go too. Anna got worried. But what's wrong with her? That's right. How did you find her? The boy? Who was he? Peter was puzzled too. The boy, your grandson, my nephew. And Liam told Anna and Peter everything. They listened with bated breath. Then Anna started to cry, for she was sure that the girl was happy, and she's been dealt such a difficult fate. But she'll get better. She'll get better. With hope. Every now and then she asked her son. With God's help, everything will be fine, answered her for Liam Peter. Anna whispered a prayer and cried. Her motherly heart was tearing apart. Now would be the time to rush to Kate, take her hand, press it to her lips and kiss and pray for her, being close to her. But would they let me into the hospital tonight? Mom, go meet your grandson. She heard her son's voice. And when with the grandson, Anna came to her senses. And at that time, Peter was already talking to little Liam. Peter's father knew how to make children feel at ease, and this time he succeeded, stiff and scared. In the beginning, the boy was chattering away. Together with the father, they sat on the grandfather's lap and even pulled his beard. And the bishop only laughed. Anna came to them and knelt down in front of little Liam. Liam, my grandson, she whispered. How much do you look like your uncle when you were a child? Are you my grandmother? Asked the boy. You're another good one. Well, Kate seems to like me. Anna smiled through her tears. Why are you crying? I'm crying out of joy. Nastya's parents. Or did Cindy and I just look at each other in surprise? Nancy had whispered the whole thing to him. But it was still hard to believe that such miracles could happen. Soon little Liam was introduced to the whole family. It turned out that he had 2 uncles, 2 aunts, and 2 grandfathers, one of whom was so interesting with a beard, like Santa Claus. But someone said he's not Santa Claus, he's a father. How interesting, a father. And then there are 2 grandmothers. Especially Grandma Anna hugs and kisses him. Baba Nellie never hugged him like that, much less kissed him. And everything in this story would have been wonderful if the adult Kate had been with them. But she had yet to be found. One or Liam had never quite figured out which hospital she was in. But by tapping into his connections, the man found out that the first city hospital was where he and Anna and Peter had gone. The next day, the doctor wouldn't let them in. Resuscitation, and it was getting late. And only thanks to Peter's father's persuasion he gave in. "You're right," he muttered. "Perhaps only prayer will help her now. We've done all we can." They entered the ICU. Kate was lying with her head bandaged, tangled with all kinds of wires and tubes. Anna's heart sank when she saw her. She remembered how James had been lying like that many years ago. "Lord, help me," she prayed mentally. "I just found her, and I'm going to take her away." That this was her daughter was no longer in doubt. Even with her head bandaged, with her eyes closed, Kate looked very much like Anna when she was young. And everyone could see that. "Yes, very sweet, my," whispered Anna, kneeling down in front of her and kissing her hands. "I have come. Mommy is near, my girl. Hear me. I am near." Liam was also standing beside her and looking at his sister. He had imagined their meeting for years. But Rosie thought she'd turn out like this, a sibling. "And this same Liam, with whom you sang songs and played and drew kittens, is mine. We found you," the man's lips whispered. Father Peter stood silent, thinking about something. "And she is baptized." Father Peter said, "I don't know." Anna sobbed, "I was not baptized. I took the rite with my son when the bishop began to communicate with you. I don't think Michael the bandit was thinking about my daughter's soul. And neither did his wife." "I think so too," nodded Liam. "Right, then we'll do the rite today," said Peter firmly. "In any case, it won't do any harm. Doctor, will you let me prepare everything here?" The doctor only waved his hand. "Let the Batiushka at least try it. The doctors are running out of all means." Peter's father went away, but soon returned with everything needed for the baptism. It was late at night when Kate was baptized, and then for a long time Peter prayed at the bedside too. And even Liam whispered prayers. They say there are no unbelievers in a foxhole in a falling airplane. At the dying man's headboard, everyone believes in miracles. In the family, Peter knew that such miracles happen. As soon as Dawn fled from the game, the doctor asked everyone to leave. Soon the superintendent will come, and it is unlikely that he will like such a crowd in the intensive care unit. "Can I stay?" asked Liam. "I'll sit here quietly." "Better me," Anna objected. "No, Mom. You can hardly stand on your feet," said Liam. "You and Father come to our place. I've already called a cab. And you? You have to go to the service, don't you?" Peter frowned. "It's not right to skip it. I took 2 days off. I forgot to tell you. Go get some rest." "Mom, the important thing is that we found Kate. The rest is up to you, gentlemen." "You're right. My son is responsible for her. Mother went to see her grandson and granddaughter." They left, and Liam stayed at the bedside of the sick Kate, breathed evenly. It seemed as if she was about to open her eyes. But she didn't. Liam did not notice how, resting his head on the back of a nearby chair, he dozed off. One hand under his head and the other lightly clutching his sister's hand. Liam was even having some sort of dream. Suddenly he felt that in his palm, as if a butterfly moved. Carefully touched his skin with its wings and froze, so it moved again. Liam opened her eyes and almost screamed with joy. It was the nurse moving his fingers, one, then a second. Liam walked out of the room to the doctor's office. Her fingers moved, gasping with excitement, he said. The doctor, who had been dozing on the couch, immediately jumped up. "It can't be," he said, heading for the room. "You must have imagined it." "I didn't want to speak in front of my mother, but her condition is almost hopeless. But she's moving her fingers." The doctor walked over to the patient and bent over her. "You didn't dream it," he shook his head. And then Kate opened her eyes. Liam almost shrieked with joy. The doctor froze in place. Then he asked Kate, "Can you hear me?" "I can." There was a faint voice, and that was victory. Victory over death. Doctors scurried about. Nurses rushed in. Liam, of course, was escorted out of the ward. promising to let him in as soon as the woman regained consciousness. He obediently went downstairs to the emergency room and waited. He didn't call his mom yet, though he wanted to. No, let her sleep, my dear. She was in so much pain. It took a long time to wait. Liam even managed to take a nap. He woke up to someone tugging on his shoulder. A doctor in the emergency room was standing next to him. "How is she with the fear?" asked Liam. "The patient came out of the coma, and that's a real miracle," replied the doctor. "I can see her not now. She is still very weak. Strong emotions can derail all efforts. Be patient for a while. In a few days, we will let you in." Liam has gone home and has already rejoiced with his family there. Kate will live, in a few days as the doctor promised. Liam, Anna, and Peter were allowed into the ward. The adults took Kate's son with them. Little Liam was so excited to see her, and when he saw his mom, all renamed, he froze in place. "Mommy, are you timid?" he asked. Sonny quietly answered him, "Kate, it's me. Do not be afraid to approach." The little boy cautiously approached his mom and stroked her hand. "Mommy, I missed you so much," the boy said. "Is it good that you are awake?" "Good, Sonny. How are you without me?" "It's good now. I found Grandma Anna and Uncle Liam. I have a little sister. What's her name?" "Katja too." Not understanding, whispered the woman. And then Anna couldn't stand it and came to the bed. "Kate, my daughter, it's me, your mother, your own mother." "Mommy," Kate also whispered. "Well, as I was told, you died. My darling, I'm alive and so is Liam, but let's do all the talking. We'll tell you all about it later. Now get well. We'll visit you. And don't worry, your little boy is with us now. No one will hurt him." "Thank you," Kate answered quietly. It seemed to her that it was a vision, some kind of aftermath, a trauma. Hard to believe that, especially when you were on the verge between life and death. It took Kate a little over a month to finally recover. Now she knew for sure. It wasn't visions. Her family had indeed been found. Anna and Liam visited her very often. Nancy would bring her son and her daughter. Jacob and Cindy came too. Katja was told about Peter's father, who had to leave for his parish. But he was with his family from a distance too, calling. He also prayed for Kate's health. Prayer. Everyone in the hospital was whispering and remembering that very night. No, that's right. The bishop helped with the baptismal rite with his prayer. I don't believe in the Almighty after that. Kate was discharged from the hospital 3 months later. The young woman was a little confused. She didn't want to go to Nellie. There was too much negativity associated with her. In addition, Kate's former neighbors reported that Nellie had disappeared. Maybe if Kate didn't know the truth, she would have gone looking for her foster mom. But not now. Nellie was also responsible for her separation from her family and had lied to her for years. "Your house is my house," her brother had told her, and his wife was in complete solidarity with him. Kate didn't say much about herself, but when she found herself at her brother's house for tea, she told him what she'd been through. When she was picked up in the park, she was taken somewhere outside the city. There she was told that she would have another mom and another dad, and her old mom had died, and her brother was gone. Kate cried so hard, but in time she came to believe it. Especially as her life began to change, she went to another country. At first it was interesting, and the past life was forgotten. And when Michael died, Nellie paid less and less attention to her daughter. She often shouted that she would put her in an orphanage, but for some reason she didn't. I guess there was something human about her. When Kate grew up, she finally realized the gulf between her and her foster mother. Nellie didn't care what was going on in the girl's life. She was not used to work. Kate realized that only on herself it is worth to hope, and worked and studied. She did not want to leave the city. When Nellie suddenly spoke to Kevin for so many years, she was still worried about her foster mother. That's why she went, and for good reason. Nellie would have gone to bed without her, but at least Kate kept her a little bit. And then Kate had a great love and a great betrayal in her life, but none of that mattered. When she had a son, how could she name him Liam after her brother whom she had lost in a distant childhood? And Kate didn't believe in omens. Her memory still retained some of the events. She remembered her mother too. It was painful to realize that they were no longer in the world. Kate didn't even try to look for them. So convinced was she that they were dead. Yes, only scraps of the past remained. And Kate also remembered that funny song she used to hum with her brother. And there was no telling who liked it better, brother or sister. Her son liked the song too. From early childhood, he listened and smiled when his mother sang it. And then he sang it himself. It was thanks to her that I found out where to look for you in Japan. My brother confessed, "I'm sorry I hesitated for so long. We thought you were doing well. We didn't want to ruin your happiness." Happiness, Kate smiled sadly. What happiness without you, my family? A little more time passed. Soon Kate with little Liam and Anna went to faraway Canada to the village that had become their family home. Kate agreed that she and her son would be better off there. And indeed, she soon got a job at the school. Liam went to kindergarten, and a year later Kate met her love there. Andrew also worked at the school. Peter's father married them. The big and friendly family became even bigger, especially noisy in the cottage near the temple. It was summer when everyone was on vacation. Jacob and his fiancée had already arrived, and Irina and her fiancé. And Nancy had also given birth to a baby boy. Liam was such a proud heir. He is growing a continuer of the military dynasty. God willing, he'll be a paratrooper for sure. And Kate was pregnant. Andre was ready to carry her in his arms all the time. Kate even swore that she was not sick, but just pregnant. Kate and Liam's kids loved to meet at their grandparents' house. And give a thrush, playing catch-up or hide and seek. Peter's father and mother, looking at their family, only smiled. But the house is not big enough. Perhaps it's time to build a bigger one. But that's up to God. Yes, this family has been through many trials and found each other. Miracles are possible, but they happen.